It was September 22nd, 1982, at Madison Square Garden in New York City. Queen was halfway through their North American tour. The crowd of 20,000 was screaming every word to Somebody to Love. But what nobody in that arena knew was that Freddie Mercury was about to do something impossible, something that would leave everyone speechless. He was about to sing in 4 different languages he had never formally learned, and the way he did it would reveal a secret about his genius that no one had ever understood. Freddie stood at the center of the stage, bathed in white light, his trademark yellow jacket gleaming under the spotlights. The energy was electric. People were crying, singing, reaching out to touch him. But Freddie's mind was somewhere else. He was thinking about a promise he'd made earlier that day. A promise to 4 people who had changed everything he thought he knew about music. Earlier that afternoon, before the concert, something unusual had happened at the hotel. 4 fans had somehow gotten past security. They weren't screaming or asking for autographs. They were simply standing in the lobby, holding handmade signs. Each sign was written in a different language: German, Spanish, Japanese, Italian. But all 4 signs said the same thing: "Your voice saved my life." Freddie had stopped in his tracks. Brian May, Queen's guitarist, later recalled that moment with crystal clarity. "I'd never seen Freddie look at fans that way before. It was like he saw something in them that we couldn't see." Freddie walked over to the 4 fans, 2 women, 2 men. All of them looked like they'd been crying. "What are your names?" Freddie asked gently. The first woman, German, spoke in broken English. "I am Greta, from Hamburg. Your music, it teach me English. When my husband died, I only had your songs." The Spanish man spoke next. "Miguel, from Barcelona. I was deaf in one ear after accident. Your voice was first thing I hear again after surgery." The Japanese woman trembled as she spoke. "Yuki, Tokyo. Your song Bohemian Rhapsody play at my daughter's funeral. She was 16. You gave me reason to keep living." The Italian man was the last. "Antonio, from Rome. I learned to speak again after stroke by singing your songs. Doctors say impossible, but your voice showed me the way." Freddie stood there, frozen, his eyes filled with tears. This was the moment that changed everything. Freddie sat down right there in the hotel lobby. Security guards were nervous, but he waved them away. "Tell me more," he said to the 4 strangers. "Tell me everything." What followed was 2 hours of the most profound conversation Freddie Mercury ever had. Greta explained how she'd learned English by listening to Queen albums over and over, writing down every word, teaching herself pronunciation by mimicking Freddie's voice. Miguel described how music therapy after his accident had used Freddie's vocal range to retrain his damaged ear. Yuki spoke about her daughter's love for Queen, how they danced together to "Don't Stop Me Now" the week before she died. Antonio showed Freddie a medical report, proof that singing along to "We Are the Champions" had rebuilt his speech patterns after his stroke destroyed them. Freddie listened to every word. He held their hands. He cried with them. And then he made a promise that seemed impossible. "Tonight," Freddie said, "I'm going to sing for each of you, in your language. I don't speak German, Spanish, Japanese, or Italian, but I'm going to find a way." The 4 fans looked at him in disbelief. Brian May, who had been watching from a distance, pulled Freddie aside. "Freddie, that's insane. You can't learn 4 languages in 6 hours." Freddie smiled that famous smile. "Darling, I'm not going to learn the languages. I'm going to learn the feeling." Hey, before we continue with this incredible story, I need to give you an important warning. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube has removed their subscriptions without notice. Just take a quick look at the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss any of the exclusive content that's coming up. And while you're there, leave that powerful like. That helps me a lot with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who is part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's interact. What Freddie did next shocked everyone on Queen's team. He canceled his pre-show routine. No warm-ups, no rest, no privacy. Instead, he spent the next 5 hours locked in a conference room with Greta, Miguel, Yuki, and Antonio. He had each of them teach him one phrase in their native language. Not just the words, the emotion behind them. Greta taught him a German phrase, Du bist nicht allein. You are not alone. She made Freddie repeat it 50 times, not focusing on pronunciation, but on the weight of those words when you've lost everything. Miguel taught him Spanish, Tu voz es mi luz. Your voice is my light. He explained the desperation of being trapped in silence and how music became the only light in that darkness. Yuki taught him Japanese, Anata no uta wa en des, your song is eternal. She showed Freddie photos of her daughter, explained how those words had been carved on her gravestone. Antonio taught him Italian, La musica mi ha salvato, music saved me. He demonstrated the physical struggle of relearning speech, how each syllable was a battle won. Freddie absorbed it all. Not like a student learning vocabulary, like a performer learning a character's deepest truth. Roger Taylor, Queen's drummer, walked past the conference room around 7 p.m. I heard Freddie repeating these phrases over and over, but it wasn't mechanical. He was crying. He was laughing. He was living inside those words. At 7:30 p.m., just 30 minutes before showtime, Freddie emerged. His eyes were red. His voice was hoarse from repetition, but something had changed in him. I understand now, he told Brian. Language isn't about words. It's about what you're trying to say when words aren't enough. Nobody knew what he meant, but they were about to find out. Madison Square Garden was packed. 20,000 people screaming for Queen. The band opened with We Will Rock You, and the crowd went insane. But Freddie kept scanning the audience. Security had given Greta, Miguel, Yuki, and Antonio special seats. Front row, center stage. Freddie could see them clearly. The show moved through all the hits. Another One Bites the Dust, Crazy Little Thing Called Love, Killer Queen. The audience was in ecstasy, but Freddie hadn't done what he promised yet. Then, about 90 minutes into the show, something unprecedented happened. Freddie stopped the concert. The band fell silent. 20,000 people went quiet, confused. Ladies and gentlemen, Freddie said into the microphone, his voice softer than usual. Tonight I met 4 people who taught me something I should have learned long ago. He gestured toward the front row. Music doesn't need translation, but sometimes the heart does. Freddie looked directly at Greta, and in German, with an accent that was far from perfect, but with emotion that was absolutely flawless, he spoke. Du bist nicht allein. The arena was silent. Greta's hands flew to her mouth. Tears streamed down her face. Then Freddie began to sing an improvised melody. Not a Queen song, but something spontaneous, weaving those German words into a haunting, beautiful phrase. The crowd didn't understand the words, but everyone understood the feeling. Next, Freddie turned to Miguel. In Spanish he spoke, Tu voz es mi luz, and again he sang. Not a translation of an existing song, but an original melody built around those Spanish words, around the emotion Miguel had shared with him. Miguel was sobbing openly now. People in the audience were looking at each other, bewildered but moved. Then Yuki, Freddie's voice became gentler, almost like a lullaby. In Japanese, Anata no uta wa en des. The melody he created was heartbreaking, delicate, filled with the grief and hope that Yuki had described. Yuki closed her eyes, and for a moment it looked like she was somewhere else, dancing with her daughter one last time. Finally, Antonio. In Italian, La musica mi ha salvato. This time, Freddie's voice was powerful, triumphant, celebrating the victory of survival, the miracle of healing. Antonio stood up, unable to contain himself, and began singing along with Freddie in Italian. Two voices, one truth. The entire arena rose to its feet. Nobody knew what was happening, but everyone felt it. This wasn't a concert anymore. This was something sacred. After the show, Freddie invited the four fans backstage. The rest of Queen was there too, still processing what they'd just witnessed. "How did you do that?" Brian asked. "How did you sing in languages you don't speak?" Freddie sat down, exhausted, his makeup running from sweat and tears. What he said next shocked everyone in that room. "I've been faking it my whole life." The room went silent. "Faking what?" Roger asked. "Belonging," Freddie said quietly. "I was born in Zanzibar, raised in India, moved to England. I'm Parsi, but I don't practice. I'm British, but I'll never really be British. I'm Freddie Mercury, but that's not even my real name." He looked at Greta, Miguel, Yuki, and Antonio. "You four taught me something tonight. You taught me that I've been singing in a language I don't speak my entire life. The language of belonging." Greta spoke up, her voice gentle. "But Freddie, your music makes everyone belong." "Does it?" Freddie's voice cracked. "Or does it just make people feel less alone in their not belonging?" The question hung in the air like smoke. John Deacon, Queen's bassist, who rarely spoke, finally said, "Isn't that the same thing?" Freddie looked at him, tears streaming down his face. "I don't know anymore." What nobody in that room knew was that Freddie had been struggling with something darker, something he hadn't told anyone. Earlier that year, Freddie had started feeling sick. Nothing serious yet, just tired, weak. Doctors couldn't explain it. But Freddie had a fear growing inside him, a fear that his voice, the only language he truly spoke fluently, might one day abandon him. "What if I lose my voice?" Freddie whispered to the group. "What language will I speak then?" Antonio, the Italian man who had relearned speech through music, moved closer. "Freddie," he said in accented English, "when I lost my voice, I thought I lost myself. But your music taught me something. The voice isn't in your throat. It's in your spirit. Even when you can't speak," Yuki added softly, "your heart still sings." Freddie broke down completely then. This was the moment his friends had never seen. The vulnerable, terrified man beneath the legend. That night changed Freddie Mercury forever. Over the next few years, he stayed in touch with Greta, Miguel, Yuki, and Antonio. He called them his four teachers. He learned something from each of them that transformed how he approached music. From Greta, he learned that language is a bridge, not a barrier. He started incorporating multilingual elements into Queen's music, small phrases, vocal inflections that honored different cultures. From Miguel, he learned that silence can be just as powerful as sound. Queen's later albums featured more space, more pauses, more moments where the absence of music spoke louder than any lyric. From Yuki, he learned that music outlives us all. He became obsessed with creating timeless work, pieces that would comfort people long after he was gone. From Antonio, he learned that survival is an act of defiance. Even as his health began to fail in the mid-1980s, Freddie kept creating, kept performing, kept singing. In 1985, Queen's performance at Live Aid became legendary, 20 minutes that changed rock history. But what most people don't know is that before Freddie went on stage at Wembley Stadium in front of 72,000 people and 1.9 billion watching on TV, he did something unusual. He stood backstage and repeated 4 phrases, one in each language. "Du bist nicht allein. Tu voz es mi luz. Anata no uta wa yende su. La musica mi ha salvato." It became his ritual, his reminder of why he sang. By 1991, as Freddie's health deteriorated from AIDS, he could barely speak. His voice, That magnificent instrument was failing. But he kept recording. The show must go on. These are the days of our lives. Mother Love. Songs recorded when he could barely stand. Greta, Miguel, Yuki, and Antonio sent him letters during those final months. All 4 letters said essentially the same thing. You gave us a voice when we had none. Now we give ours back to you. They meant it literally. In a secret recording session in late 1991, just weeks before Freddie died, the 4 of them recorded backing vocals for a song Freddie was working on. A song that was never officially released. A song in 4 languages, sung by 4 people whose lives Freddie had touched. Freddie listened to the playback from his bed at Garden Lodge, his London home. He was too weak to sing along, but he smiled. "Now I understand," he whispered to Jim Hutton, his partner. The voice continues, even when the singer stops. Freddie Mercury died on November 24, 1991. The world mourned, but Greta, Miguel, Yuki, and Antonio mourned differently. They didn't mourn the voice they lost. They celebrated the language they gained. At Freddie's tribute concert in 1992 at Wembley Stadium, something beautiful happened. During the performance of Bohemian Rhapsody, the audience of 72,000 sang Freddie's parts. But if you listen closely to the recordings, you can hear something else. Scattered throughout the crowd, people singing in different languages: German, Spanish, Japanese, Italian, French, Portuguese, Russian. Freddie had taught the world that music is the only truly universal language, and that sometimes the most profound thing you can say in any language is simply, "You are not alone." Today, Greta is 78 years old, still living in Hamburg. She teaches English to immigrants using Queen's music. Miguel, now 71, runs a music therapy program in Barcelona for accident survivors. Yuki, 69, established a foundation in Tokyo that provides free music education to grieving children. Antonio, 74, wrote a book about his recovery titled La Musica Mi ha salvato. All 4 of them still sing, and when they do, they sing in the language Freddie taught them. The language of survival, a language of hope, the language of a voice that refuses to die. Because here's the secret that Freddie Mercury understood on that September night in 1982. You don't need to speak a language to understand it. You just need to feel it. And Freddie Mercury felt every language ever spoken, not with his ears, with his heart. That's how he sang in 4 languages without speaking them. That's how he spoke to millions without saying a word. And that's how his voice still echoes in every language, in every corner of the world. Because the greatest performers don't just sing songs, they sing truths. And truth needs no translation. If this story of music's universal language moved you, subscribe and hit that like button. Share this with someone who needs to remember that we all speak the same language when it comes to the heart. What's one song that helped you through your darkest time? Tell us in the comments. And remember, the voice continues, even when the singer stops.